All right, all right, all right. Matt Gouget, Get Better Everyday podcast. I'm so excited. Have a special guest today, Josh Paul. Josh, thanks for being with me. Please tell everybody who is Josh Paul.
Well, I own the Chick-fil-A that's in Alta, Arden, and Howe. I've been with Chick-fil-A for 20 years, but I've been the owner of the location in California in 10. I moved up here from Texas, and yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one, I'm a big fan of Chick-fil-A and the food, but two, as a business owner, entrepreneur, I am fascinated by the efficiency of that store.
Mm.
So much so that I haven't told you this story yet, but I'm asking questions to your employees while I'm in the drive-through, where I'm like, "How are you guys so efficient?" And you know what an employee recently told me was, yeah, we are really efficient. You know that stores from all around California come to look at us as a model of what efficiency is. So, being that this is the Get Better Everyday podcast, and I'd love to dig into Get Better Every Day. Uh, Tell me how you guys became so efficient, like what you did as the leader
Mm.
to create these efficiencies. It probably translates to a ton of different businesses.
The expression I always like is the grass is always greener where you water it. And it's one of those things we started listening to our guests. In our area, we have a lot of people that are on their 30. They get a 30-minute break. They got to leave their business, wherever it is that they're working, come to my restaurant, get their food, come back, eat it, and be back on the clock in 30 minutes. So the feedback we got is the importance of speed. And so it's getting to know our clientele. So over the last 7 or 8 years, just asking our guests what they wanted, we just figured out the speed. So that's been our journey: is how can we get our drive-through to be as fast as can be. We traveled the country, visited other Chick-fil-A's, we kind of did best practices. Chick-fil-A corporate came in and they flew a drone above our restaurant and kind of gave us some tips and pointers throughout the mix. So kind of that combination of things, we just kept going and it kept getting better and better. And it took being okay with failure, like knowing that we had these great ideas sometimes that didn't work, and like, okay, so let's do the post-mortem on this idea. Like, it didn't work, we had some good ideas, and then through that process we got what we have today.
Right, right. Which is funny that you say that, because anybody who I've talked to in business who's had success at any level, I think tells me the same story about, we act fast, we implement ideas, three-fourths of them are wrong, but then we find the one out of four that works and we lean into that. And then we have three or four more ideas to, increase efficiency or whatever they're trying to solve for. And they're constantly failing forwards, which is really cool. So how do you do that as well as you do? Because I know it. I'm a client of Chick-fil-A's, while also having like a high level client experience, customer service. Why is everybody at Chick-fil-A so happy? Between Dutch Brothers and Chick-fil-A, if I'm having a bad day, I just got to go to one of those two spots, and happy, upbeat employees are going to make me feel better.
I mean, honestly, what my job is controlling the culture. So I let my staff take care of the guests, and what my job is to support my leaders, support my managers, make sure that they have the training that they need, make sure they have the equipment and resources they need, but also helping them to understand we don't just want to be fast for us, but we're helping our guests with their needs. And so connecting, it's not just about big sales. It's about helping people. It's about giving a better product. And it's, if I can get you that sandwich after it's been cooked faster, you're going to get a better quality sandwich. And so it's kind of helping understand the whys that we're doing this, or why that it's there. And for them to understand, like, sometimes someone's having a bad day. And when we're nice, you could change somebody's day. You never know. And Chick-fil-A has something we call it Everyone Has a Story. And we really look at, you don't know who was fired. You don't know who, is struggling with finances. And so when we're nice to people, especially when they're having a hard day, just watching that reaction, but that comes from culture. Like having a culture where it's fun to do things like that, where it's fun to try to change people's minds, when they come in with a certain mindset and turn it around. And it's just really yeah, it just goes back to culture.
Yeah, I would be curious too. I would guess that there's something in the hiring process where this is, somebody who you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who fits in the culture. What do you have your leaders do when they're looking for new talent, looking for people to add to the team to
The,
assure that they're aligned?
there are certain things that are really hard to train. It's hard to train someone to smile. So it's one of those things, you look for the things that we want, and there's certain key things. If the person isn't smiling during the interview, if they're not upbeat, if they're not, there's just certain things that we look for, then we don't hire them. And it was tempting. We were shorthanded for a while. We're finally getting caught up. And the temptation for a little bit was just to start hiring on anybody that applies. But then you're going to hurt the culture, and then you're going to hurt your service. And so it's just making sure that you aren't settling, that they fit the categories we're looking for. And it needs to be a win-win. We need to be a good fit for them as an employer. They need to fit in our culture. The pay needs to work out for them. And so we try to make it to where we feel like both sides win as best we can.
I had to take a quick note on that. You can't train a smile. Trying to get my 13-year-old to smile more. I think it's going to help out no matter what direction he goes in life. So if you see me looking to the side, I'm typing notes, because the cool part about this passion project for me is I get to learn as I go, from other great business owners and folks doing things at a high level. This is one of my favorite questions. So I'm gonna press the rewind button, because I talk to people like yourself. A lot of success, you're running one of the most, successful Chick-fil-A's in the country. But this is not where you started. One of my favorite sayings is people overestimate what they can do in a year or two and underestimate what they can do in a decade or two. So who, where, and what was Josh Paul doing 2 decades ago, 20 years ago? I think you said you've been with Chick-fil-A for 20 years.
Oh, absolutely. I was in high school, and my plan was to drop out of high school, maybe join the military. I was going to do my own thing and open up my own business. And honestly, I just really didn't have my head on my shoulders very well. And so my parents were really kind of pushing me to find a mentor. And so my parents were really wanting me to work for Chick-fil-A. At the time, there was a man named David Oakes. He still owns that location. And so we knew him. He was my first grade Sunday school teacher. We knew him a long time. And so to shut my dad up, I was going to work for Chick-fil-A for a few weeks, because I told him only losers work fast food. But I'm just going to try it out. It's not for me. And then my second week there, I made a presentation to the owner about why he should fire the current general manager and make me the general manager. And I had this whole plan. I was a fry cook at the time, and I was going to make the big jump from fry cook to general manager. He politely listened, but he did turn down my proposal. But just working, just really just working for him and just trying to figure out, I tried to get out of school, figure out all the different things. And eventually I figured out I had to have a college degree with Chick-fil-A. So I ended up going to college, and I was on the 9-year plan. So it took forever, but I finally got it done. I was able to do a program with Chick-fil-A where if I retired tomorrow, a temporary owner would take over who's from the corporate office. And so I did that for a year to prove myself. And then through that program, the store in Arden became available. And even though I was an internal candidate, people asked, it was 50 hours of interviews. And then I produced 10 references, and they interviewed 7 of them, each for an hour. And at the end of that process, I got selected for Arden Fair. And that's kind of the real quick version of the Chick-fil-A journey that I had to get to where I am.
Yeah, from fry cook to your own spot. So that was back in Houston, Texas, where you worked for your Sunday school teachers, Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I worked for him for 8.5 years, and then Chick-fil-A for about a year, and then I've been in Arden ever since.
And that store you ran for that 1-year stint, that was in Houston too?
One was in Utah. It was a mall location that's no longer in existence. And then I did a store in Utah for 5 months. And that was the first time I've ever seen snow in my life, which was an interesting, having to learn to drive it and all that type stuff. But I really, Utah was a lot of fun. But those are the 2 places I went to.
Cool. Yeah. Now you're in Sacramento, where you just got to get past the 110-degree heat.
It's an hour drive to see snow when you miss it or so. It's not too bad.
Right, but... right, for sure. Which, yeah, speaking of the heat, you've got drive-through folks that are not only great employees with great attitudes, but they're out there sweating in the heat. They got the coverage and whatnot, but still showing that good attitude,
that determination.
So, I think my follow-up question too, because I think about this a lot in my current business, and I think about this a lot with people who have had some success. You obviously, started as a fry cook, and it took a lot of work. It took 8.5 years of, quote unquote grinding, and then, an opportunity presented itself, and you were ready for that opportunity because of all the hard work you'd put in. Now that, a lot of people would look and say you quote unquote made it, what continues to drive you day in and day out to continue to get better every day? Because I know that I see it across the board where, a lot of folks could take their foot off the gas and coast, but they don't. And I'm sure that you're no exception. Your store's continuing to get better every day. The service is better, the speed is better, the quality is better. What drives you?
I like working for Chick-fil-A, and people always thrown off because I say like versus love. But what I love to do is community work. And because I work at Chick-fil-A, I'm able to do the things I love. I love giving sandwiches away at events. I love being able to sponsor different events and sponsor different things. And so for me, Chick-fil-A has provided an incredible venue for me really to have a life passion that's there. And so as long as I'm able to continue at a high level to be able to help, I mean, just the small things, one of the things that we discovered in our area was job interview training. There's a lot of kids out there who don't necessarily have a figure in their life that's taught them how to get a job or how to do a job interview. But those avenues of being able to go to places and be able to teach kids or young adults or the different places that I go to, Chick-fil-A allows me to do that. And so that's one of these things where I've found a way to combine like a personal goal and a work goal. And I think that's really important because sometimes when you have a work goal and your work goal is just to pay rent or just to pay for your retirement, and it's a job that you don't care for and you're just doing it for X amount of time, it can almost feel like a prison sentence. My father worked extraordinarily hard, but he just never liked his job. It was a good job when he worked for, he worked for an oil company and that type of a thing. But I can just remember him just on that calendar, just marking off every day until it was time for retirement. Whereas for me, I was like, how can I make what I do for a living turn into something I love? And so when I combined what I did for a living with my passions of giving back to the community, being able to help out, there's been employees I've taught some how to shave in the bathroom. I've taught some how to do leadership skills. I mean, everything from very basic to all the things that they do. And it's those added things that really keep me fired up and that keep me coming in more so than I love feeding people. I love them coming in and being able to do that, but to be able to give back in a big way and to be able to everybody eats, so it's a way that it can just benefit everyone, and that's really where my passion comes out.
Yeah, I love it. So your why is bigger than just, a successful business that runs efficiently and whatnot. And I think a
Absolutely.
lot of folks are like that. I've, developed a mantra over the last few years where, you can only write so many mortgages and get so many trophies. And I told somebody recently that I'm no longer chasing income, I'm chasing impact. And so I think that you're aligned with that too, where, being able to impact somebody, give them life skills and interview skills and all that, is something that, far outweighs any monetary, goals that
Oh,
you had. So,
absolutely.
so that's really cool. And I'd love to hear more about that too, because I think, hopefully this podcast reaches some folks that maybe are at that level where, they're just getting started in their careers, or they're trying to find the right path. And skills like job interviews and tying a tie, and like you said, teaching somebody how to shave. What advice would you give to somebody who is just getting started on what they can do, whether it's in the workforce or life in general, I guess, to continue to get better every day?
The big ones for me is one, you need to find a mentor. You need to find someone who's doing whatever it is that you're wanting to do and that does it at a high level. And whether it's once a year, a couple times a year, once a month, like whatever it is, try to meet with that person, talk to that person, and try to find out their habits, the different things they do. Because in every industry, it's going to be a little different. And so it's really impressive when you can find somebody that's in the industry doing what you want to do. The other thing is also have truth tellers in your life. And I always joke, the way you know if you have a truth teller is if you went to get your hair cut and it was a bad haircut, like it's the friend that's not going to worry about hurting your feelings. It's going to let you know, like, what in the world were you thinking? This is not the haircut for you. I can remember for whatever reason at one point, I thought the mohawk looked really good on me. So I wore it at an event, and I had a good friend of mine hug me and pull me aside and let me know the look didn't work. And I changed my hair for the rest of the event and we were great. But it was that friend of having a truth teller in your life and your business, because sometimes as you're very passionate, you can look past faults and make excuses. So you need that person to be able to kind of look at you and say, hey, this is something that needs to be there. And then third, I say you need to intentionally find a business coach once you're ready and once you can be there, because you have your mentors that are working with you, but that's not someone who's pouring your business. That's someone who's going to be giving you advice. You got your truth tellers, but you need someone in particular that's going to be able to helpful for you. Here locally, Jeannie Reeves is my business coach. She's been my business coach for years. She's just absolutely brilliant. but being able to have someone that can help you at a high level think. And what Jeannie's really good at is I have all these amazing ideas and she'll help me. Well, okay, instead of doing 50 things, let's find the two that you're really excited about so that you can actually get stuff done, but someone who can kind of help you do that course correction. And I'll also encourage, and the last one would be you're going to outgrow your mentors, realizing it, it's nothing personal, and then finding a new mentor. I mean, there's mentors who I followed that were phenomenal business owners, but as I progressed, one day I kind of realized, and it sounds arrogant, but you're a better business owner all of a sudden than they are. And all of a sudden they're dragging you down a little bit, or they're being negative, or some of their faults have come out that you've seen. And at some point, it's okay to pick a new mentor and to find someone that's new. What's not okay is hanging on to a mentor that's turning into an anchor. Because I had some times where I'd just be following this advice and then following this advice, and I just figured out like, they weren't evolving, they weren't doing open-minded things, they were trying the same things. And like I said, it was an anchor for me. So I think the real quick version, those would be the four that I'd really hit.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
like.
important to starting off?
Yeah, I like that too, because I think in my life and in my mortgage career, when I was starting out, I had mentors that were doing 4 times the business that I was doing. And then when I got to that level, I looked for somebody who was doing double that. And when it got to that level and double that. And so continually doing that. I wanted to really quick highlight too the truth teller part, because I think if you look around, the people who love you the very most are the people that are the most honest with you. And I get a kick out of it because my wife loves me a lot, because she is very honest with me. If I've got an idea that's terrible, or if I do something that wasn't good, I hear it from her first, and it's because she loves me a whole lot. So
we're in the same boat and good company then.
Yeah, good company. Yeah, straight to the point, loving wives, which we appreciate quite a bit, even if it stings in the moment. It's coming from a good place.
Absolutely.
So man, that's all really cool stuff. I'd love to, before we go, hear from you with the vision. Obviously you've got charity work and community stuff that you're doing. I know that you provided some meals for the College Glen Little League, which I've been affiliated with for almost a decade. What do you see for your future, maybe 5-10 years out? It could be with Chick-fil-A, it could be with the community, but what exciting stuff is on the horizon for you?
Well, we're working on hopefully getting a second restaurant with Chick-fil-A. So hopefully that's the next 2 years or so. That's what we're going for. So we'll see if that happens, where I could own multiple. But besides that, I mean, just the usual stuff as we look kind of in Sacramento and just looking to be more intentional as a family unit, doing some more charity work with just us. For a long time, sometimes it's giving food away, whereas other times we might host events. So it's trying to figure out ways that we can give back in the community more at a higher level, I think, and being a little bit more specific. I think we set up a filter, and I love giving back, but you get so many requests that we had to kind of narrow down like what our passions are. And so for us, it's stopping domestic violence. It's helping kids through education, whether that be, it could be college, that could be trade school, that could be something along those lines, mental health. And then we're big dogs, or we have 3 big dogs that we've rescued. And so we have a passion for helping big dogs and dog rescue. So those are kind of the areas that we've narrowed in. And so knowing those areas, like how do we expand those? How do we continue to grow those areas and be able to continue to have, there's that long lasting impact. I just look back at some of my life and some of these things, and it's one thing to give somebody a sandwich who's hungry, but how do you, teaching them to get a job to get there. And so I'm looking more of those long term. I love giving someone a fish, but let's teach them how to fish. Would be a great way to say it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to pull out of that. Right, is teaching somebody how to fish, and so showing somebody those skills, and then I'm sure that you're going to have a direct impact on young folks, and look back a decade later and say, look at him running his own business, look at her, she started this organization, or whatever the case may be. That's fulfilling stuff. So kudos to you, man. I appreciate the heck out of you. Is there any parting words, or places to follow you, check you out, anything you got going on that you want to promote?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, the JDP CFA1, or my store at Chick-fil-A Arden. Just thanks for the time of having us, and I appreciate being on here and being able to talk to you for a little bit, be able to share with some of your viewers here.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, man. It was really great talking to you. And I think that, you know, hopefully some of our passions overlap, you know, educating folks and empowering you know, everybody through education, not just for buying a house, but you know, for all things. There's not
Right.
enough financial education in school. So maybe we'll see some overlap there, and we'll do some stuff in the future together. But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks, Matt.